Welcome everyone to this Schein TechCentral webinar. Today we'll be discussing a new approach in office phone systems that greatly simplifies what has been an expensive and traditionally a complex technology. In the next 45 minutes or so, we hope you'll better understand the right time to move to a cloud-based phone solution to both save money and to better serve your patients. I'm Jason Warner, and I'm the Product Marketing Manager for Schein TechCentral, and I'm joined today by Kevin Goodman. Kevin is with Schein's phone solutions partner, Broadview Networks. Good morning, Kevin. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Well, I guess I should say good afternoon because I see that a lot of you are on the East Coast as well. So wherever you are, thank you for joining us. As a quick introduction to Schein TechCentral, we are Schein's business technology experts. We're a part of Schein and have been for the last 5 years. We provide computer networks, computer support, and other business technology to thousands of practices nationwide. What sets Schein TechCentral apart from most computer services is our vast experience and focus exclusively in the dental and healthcare industries. We really know what works and provide the excellent customer service you expect from Schein. Let's go to the next slide. Thank you. And in fact, the business technology solution that TechCentral provides form a strategic technology platform, or what some doctors have referred to me as the foundation of their practice technology. If a network or a computer system isn't running fast or smoothly, it has a drastic effect, negative effect on your business. Unfortunately, some of you may have experienced that before, and that's why so many practices turn to Schein TechCentral for rock-solid business technology. From the installation of their networks, to their PCs, to their audio-video systems, phone systems, and ongoing computer support, Schein TechCentral is the leading provider of business technology expertise in the industry. Phone systems and office communications have really gone through a revolution lately, and that's caused mainly by the explosion of internet technologies. Moving a phone system to a cloud-based service is a great example of this, and that's why Schein TechCentral partners with Broadview Networks, and why I've invited Broadview to speak with us today on the topic of cloud-based phone solutions. Kevin, why don't you take it from here and give us an introduction?
Thanks, Jason. My name is Kevin Goodman, and I'm the Managing Director of Strategy and Development at Broadview Networks. And Broadview Networks was a company selected by Schein to help provide dentists and practice managers like you with a phone solution that's cost-effective, easy to use, and feature-rich. And we're going to talk a lot about the solution, but what I want to do before we got into that was give you a little bit of a quick glance at who Broadview is and tell you why we're well-served to be that hosted service or cloud voice provider for your practice. So Broadview Networks was founded in 1996, which really speaks to our experience. We have a background in telecommunications and recently moved into cloud communications. Well, when I say recently, that's actually over the last 7 years that we've been doing cloud services. So we really do understand what type of quality you need to run your practice in terms of voice cloud solutions. Our services are available nationwide, so no matter where you are, we can service you. And we have over $350 million in annual revenue. We're the 54th largest privately held company in New York, and with over 35,000 business customers and over 1,000 employees and associates. We really do have the size to support your practice and give you all of the help you need. So what we want to do is make this presentation as interactive as possible. And we do have a couple of questions throughout the presentation just to get a feel for you in the audience and some of the challenges you're facing or where you stand in terms of your telephony today. So the first question we have is, how old is your current phone system? And you should have some options, some polling options that should pop up where you'll be able to indicate which one of the answers best suits you. So we'll just give you a moment to answer those questions. You'll have about 30 to 45 seconds to answer the question, then we'll be able to tabulate the responses from there. So if it's A, less than 1 year, please click on that one. If it's 2 to 5 years old, then click on B. And if it's over 5 years old, click on C. So let's talk about OfficeSuite itself and exactly what you get with an OfficeSuite solution. First, as you recognize from the title on the slide, it's easy to use a no CAPEX solution. And those are two key points which we'll continue to emphasize throughout the presentation. But first, let's take a look at what the solution OfficeSuite actually includes. It includes a phone system with features. It includes unlimited local and long-distance calls. You have a website that you can use to control and manage the system. You're able to add integrated call center tools, which is basically call queuing tools, being able to have different treatments as calls come in and route who those calls go to. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through the presentation. It also includes secure multi-site data networking. So this means that it's an application that works very well if you're a single location practice and excels even more if you're a multi-location practice. And some of the features that we'll go through will really bring that to life. And also it includes high-speed internet access. Today, your phone system, as you've indicated, a lot of you on older phone systems, is probably completely separate from your high-speed internet. With this system, you can actually combine both, and you'll just have one provider, Broadview Networks, who will take care of both of those elements for you, and tying those together in itself already makes it a lot more cost-effective. One thing to note and emphasize about OfficeSuite is it's been designed from the ground up with the end user in mind. So it's really been designed for you, for your office managers, or if you're the dentist who's in charge of running the practice. We want to make it as easy for you to use as possible. And instead of designing something where you would need an extra IT resource or need extensive training or rely on a third party to help you manage the system, we've designed it so you can really do everything yourself. And we're going to go into the portal today, or the website that you use to manage the system, so you can see that. OfficeSuite improves your flexibility, it improves your productivity, it helps you avoid disasters, and it also helps you control costs. We're going to hit all of those points throughout the presentation, but just wanted to highlight that as we did a quick overview of what OfficeSuite is. So in terms of flexibility, OfficeSuite gives you the ability to turn any room into your office or any room into an extension of your practice. Again, that also can include any location. So if you have multiple locations, they can all feel as if they're one within your practice structure. And the way we do that is through mobility and also through the technology that powers the phones. Now, just to give you a little bit of background about OfficeSuite and cloud voice, the intelligence for the system is in the cloud, and I know that there's a lot of hype around cloud today. There's a lot of different definitions of what cloud is, but basically what cloud is it means that we take the actual physical intelligence that would be on on-premise equipment, and we put that in the cloud. It can now be controlled by the internet. We house it as Broadview Networks. We're going to house those on our servers, and you're going to be able to access our cloud to manage the system. What that allows us to do is allows any phone to bring your profile into it. So that can be a phone on a desktop, which we'll show you examples of our phones, or it can be an application on either a laptop or on a smartphone. So what you have here is examples of some of the mobility aspects where, let's say you were working from home and you didn't have an additional phone set deployed at home, but you had your laptop. You wanted to be able to make calls as if you were in your office or in your practice. You'd be able to launch the soft phone application. You log into it with your profile information, and then as you make and receive calls, it will be just as if you were sitting at your desktop phone, but you'll be actually using your PC or your laptop. It's a great addition to have if you're traveling. Maybe you're going over to a conference, or you've attended one of the Henry Schein trade shows, and while there you want to still be tied in to the office. Well, you can do that with the soft phone application on your PC or on your laptop. But we also took it a step further, and if you want to be able to always have access via your cell phone and have that operate as if it was the phone within your practice, you can load on an OfficeSuite application that allows you to do that. Once you log into the application, you make and receive calls, and again, it seamlessly looks as if you are sitting at your practice. No one will be any the wiser as to where you are. They dial your number, and they get directly to you. In addition to these applications, you can actually have a teleworker phone. And what that is the same phone sets that you have within your practice. You can take an additional one and have that residing at your home location. When you work from home on certain days, you make and receive calls as if you were in the practice, and no one will know that you're working from the practice because, again, your number that shows up and the number that people dial into will be the same as if you were sitting inside the practice. So we really do give you those flexibility options and the ability for you to make and receive calls wherever you are and to never miss a call. Now, that comes into play not only from a patient care standpoint or from a practice management standpoint, so you can be wherever you need to travel to and still be part of the practice, but also as you move from location to location. Or if you're in a situation where there's inclement weather or some type of natural disaster, you won't have to miss any calls because, again, people who are working from a remote location or working from their cell phones can be tied into the practice and continue to operate as usual. the patient's needs will still be addressed, even if something happens that makes the phone system unavailable, or it makes it difficult for you to actually get to the office. You can still use the phone system. So we give you flexibility in all those ways too. And that disaster avoidance is actually built in to the system. So that's something that you're not paying additional fees for. It's something that is standard with OfficeSuite. So that's one thing to consider as an advantage from a cloud-based phone system. Now, before we move on past flexibility, and mobility, let's talk a little bit about costs. And we have another polling question up that we'd like you to just take some time to answer, and that is, can you always predict your monthly phone expenses? So if you just take a little minute here, we'll give you 30 seconds to answer this question. And again, we'll take a look at what the results are afterwards. Now, in terms of thinking about lowering your costs or what your monthly costs comprise of, one thing to consider is it's not just usage. As I mentioned with OfficeSuite, we do include unlimited local and long-distance calling, which is probably very different to the phone systems you're using today, since most of you are on phone systems that are over 5 years old. But the other thing to think about when you're trying to determine whether you can predict your monthly costs are what elements are you considering in those monthly costs. Now, I know 63% of you said that you can predict your monthly costs today, but I'd like to know if we could drill in a little bit more, we won't on this call, whether you also considered moves, adds, and changes in those costs, whether you considered maintenance costs, hardware costs, upgrade and power costs, and also management costs. Those are all things that are part of predicting how much you're going to spend on your phone system on a given month. So yes, it's true that a lot of you can predict your monthly usage costs, but let's think about the other elements too. And as we go through the presentation, we'll talk to a lot of the areas where we're able to save you on monthly expenses. So one of those costs that I mentioned was management costs. And a lot of people take for granted that the phone system has been deployed, but what happens when you have to add a new user or add a new location or make changes to your phone? Can you program a speed dial? Can you change certain features on your phone without having to call someone else in or resort to flicking through a large manual in order to do that? Well, with OfficeSuite, we put you in control. So you're in control from a disaster recovery and avoidance standpoint. As I mentioned before, the mobility and flexibility options allow you to always be able to take a patient's call. You can always make sure that call is getting through to someone to address the needs of your patients. But also, there's no charges for moves, adds, and changes. This is something that you can control yourself as an administrator within the system. All changes that are made in this system can be completed in 3 clicks or in less than 10 seconds. So there really is a key advantage, because as I said before, if I asked a lot of you on the call to set up a speed dial on your phone, you probably wouldn't know where to start. But with OfficeSuite, it's very easy to do. And what I'd like to do now is actually show you what that web portal or web management system looks like. And hopefully everybody should be able to see my internet screen now. Jason, are you able to see it?
I can see it just fine.
Okay, great. All right, so what I've logged into here is the end user version of the management portal. So you have 2 options with OfficeSuite, or 2 views. You can view it either as the end user within the practice, and that might be somebody who just has control of their own phone system, their own profile. That's what that end user description really is. And the administrator, who can see everybody within the practice or within the multiple location practice. You could see people in a location that's down the road or in another state. The administrator will be able to control everybody who's on that system. So what we're looking at right now is the end user, someone who's just able to control their own personal details. And that's emphasized by the fact that on the side here, on the left navigation, everything starts with my settings, my personal details, my phone, my call coverage, my call groups, my voicemail. When someone is set up as a new user, what they're going to do is receive an email. The administrator puts in their information, puts in their name, puts in their email address, and sets them up with a profile that basically says what type of calling they're allowed to do. Are they allowed to make long-distance calls, so on and so forth. Once that's set up in the system, they click Save, generates an email, much like the one I have up on the screen today, which is a welcome letter to OfficeSuite. It welcomes them to OfficeSuite, tells them what their OfficeSuite extension is, and also gives them their OfficeSuite PIN. Now, these 2 items here are very important because, as I said, the intelligence for the system is in the cloud. So when this person goes to a phone, they can log in using their extension and their PIN, and all of their profile information in terms of speed dials or anything else that is associated with that person's name will be present in the phone. In addition to giving them this information, they're also able to get links to how to use the system. So if they wanted to find out more, we have links to the OfficeSuite website. We also have some links here as to learning how to use the phone itself. So they can learn how to use the platform, but they can also learn how to use the phone. And it's very easy for them to just click on these links and go through the quick how-tos. Now, some training is available once the system is rolled out, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. But the way the system is designed is that you're never alone. You're always able to get help. You're always able to help yourself, whether it's going through TechCentral or calling Broadview or going through some of the links we have available. So this email is very key to helping them get started. A lot of people don't know how to use their phone today because nobody sat down with them and told them what to do. So they're really losing out on all the features and functionality that you're probably paying for. But with OfficeSuite, we make sure you make the most of everything that's available to you in the system, because we'll do little touches like including this email here. It even has a link here to show them how to set up their voicemail. So as soon as they've received this email, they can really get up and running. But let's go back to the system itself. So My Settings. Within My Settings, they're able to change their PIN. They can view what they have for their personal details. If they click in here, this shows the name associated with this profile. If they wanted to change that, they say, you know what, the admin who set this up actually got my name wrong. My name is George Smith. If they click in that, they make that change, they click Save. Now that change is going to be in the system. You'll notice that it changed up here too, in the top left-hand corner. If I had changed it again, and it was George Mark, and I click Save, you see it changes here again. And this means that the system has registered that this profile has been updated. It's going to change it in the cloud. It's going to change it in our storage databases for profiles, which means that it's also going to change on the phones themselves. And when I go into the My Phone tab, you'll understand that a little bit better. But this really is true control via the web portal. Anything you change here instantaneously changes throughout the system. Within this section here, they're also able to see their permissions. So this tells you whether the specific user is allowed to make international calls, local long-distance calls, toll-free or toll-premium calls. All of this has been set up by the admin. This is not something they can change themselves, but they can view what capabilities they have. If they need something changed, they contact the admin, and the admin will change their profile, and it will change here. It's just a good reference point for them to be able to look and see what they're able to do. In terms of anything they need to do within the system, if they have any questions whatsoever, and we're just on the first page here, but let's say I was brand new and I didn't read the email, the setup email that came into me. I've now logged into the system, and I have questions about how to use the system or what each of the pages do. I can click on the question mark, and there are question marks throughout the whole of the website, and they're for all of the features that are available. And within that, it's going to tell you exactly what that feature does. So again, you're never alone with the system. You can always find out how to do something. It's very intuitive, but at the same time, we want to make sure that if you ever get stumped, you can get your answer, whether it's going to TechCentral or Broadview, or just finding out yourself by clicking on any of these great question mark buttons. We really try to make it as easy as possible for you. The next section down is My Phone, and I said that it would really come to light in terms of the power of the system when I got to this section, and let me tell you why. With this, let's say I logged into my phone, and this is the phone that I have on my desk. It's an LCD backlit screen, and it has different buttons on the side here. The thing is, these buttons are connected to the web portal from the standpoint that this phone is taking its direction from the cloud. So anything I change in the web portal here, if I wanted to click on this button, for example, and assign a speed dial, all I have to do, click on any button I want to assign that speed dial for, go to the drop-down menu. Now, we'll go one-touch speed dial, click here, we'll label it. I'll put in here that I want this one to give me the ability to call Rick. And Rick's number, let's say that's Rick's number. Once I click Save, it says key mapping has saved successfully. Again, we want to make sure that you know that when you've made a change in the system, you're notified that you successfully made that change, and that's where you look at the top part of the box here. I've got confirmation that change has gone through. When I go back to the page, that I was on for my phone, I can see now that that has been added. One touch speed dial is now present on my phone. When I go to my phone on my desk, it's going to be present right there at the button that I've associated with that with. So within less than 3 clicks, in under 10 seconds, I probably took just 10 seconds because I was speaking as I was doing it, but I could have done it quicker. In under 10 seconds, I've now set up a speed dial on my phone. Now, I think that most of you would agree that on traditional phone systems, it's just not that easy to do. And apart from the speed dial, there's many different options I had here that I could have set up. Intercom to a coworker. I could make this button instantly intercom to another person that's on the system, and that person might be in my location or in another location that's tied to my practice. So we can intercom between the phones. You can also do a redial list. You can do transfer. You can have the button take you directly to your voicemail, forwarding to a coworker, forwarding to other types of coverage. All of that is available just from clicking on the drop-down menu and following the couple of steps and clicking Save. And the beauty of it is you don't have to do anything on the phone itself. It's going to appear on that phone as an updated change. So it really is a very intuitive, easy-to-use system. The next part down is call coverage. So this is what do I want to happen when a call comes in to my number. So at this time, let's say I'm someone who's working at the front desk in the practice, and after 3 calls, if I'm not on my desk, I want that to go to somebody else in the practice just to make sure that that patient is being attended to. And actually, we want that to happen quicker. We don't want them to be waiting, so let's do it in two rings. After 2 rings, from the drop-down menu here, I selected I want the call to be sent to my coworker. Everybody who's in the system, everybody in that practice is going to be included in this drop-down menu, so I can select them from here. So if I say I want this phone call, it's 2 rings, I want this call to go to Rob W. or W. Rob if I do not pick up. Once I've put that in the system and click Save, that's exactly what's going to happen. I get the confirmation, save successful. It's exactly what's going to happen when someone calls into that number now. So again, that means that if I'm not by my desk, that patient is not going to be waiting. It could be an existing patient. I want to make sure they're getting the top care and they're being attended to, or it could be a new patient who doesn't know much about my practice. And if I don't get to that call quickly, then maybe they'll call someone else. So I want to make sure I'm getting that call. I can do that with my call coverage, and I can set that up myself. I don't need to call anybody. I don't need to sit down with an engineer or get a third party to come in and configure that for me. I can do it in the system just by clicking on call coverage and going through that. So that's one of the features there that we just wanted to show you. Next one is My Call Group. So within call groups, this can be a broadcast group. This can be a group where a lot of maybe your appointment setting happens. So somebody calls in to set an appointment. I've made that number public, but instead of it just ringing one phone, I want it to ring multiple phones. In here, I'll be able to see which group I'm in, and in the administrative section of this, I'll be able to show you how you would set up those call groups. But it's just another piece of the system to make sure that the calls are really being treated properly and that people are getting to where they need to in terms of being attended to and their needs being met. Last one here in the end user options is My Voicemail. So in My Voicemail, I can figure out or dictate what I want to happen when somebody leaves me a voicemail. I can have the option to just retrieve the voicemail when I come back to my phone, and that can I can be notified that there's a message on my phone by the message waiting indicator. So on each of the phones, and I'll go back to my phone here, even though it's a smaller picture, I'll be able to show you. Right here on the top right-hand side of the phone. It's very hard to see at the moment, but it's actually a little light area. So if I clicked on My Voicemail and said that I want the message indicator light to be on if there's a voicemail on my phone, that will always light up if a voicemail is present. But if I'm someone who doesn't really use the phone to retrieve my voicemails, like myself, I usually like to get my voicemails as a WAV file, and I'll get a WAV file sent to me via email. So what I would do is I'd click in here to send a copy of my voicemail as an email attachment. And this way, anytime somebody leaves me a message, it's going to come through to my email account which I can receive that message either on the laptop, on the desktop computer, or from my smartphone if I've got my smartphone as an area that my emails come into. So there's a lot of options you have here. In addition to being able to get an actual copy of the voicemail, maybe you just might want a notification. I just want to be notified that a voicemail is waiting for me, and I want that either in an email format or I can have that text message to me. And you can do that by selecting this option here, putting in the email address or the email address associated with the text messaging option for your phone. If we scroll down here, there's a dial zero destination. So this is when somebody comes through to your voicemail and you want to instruct them to press 0 to go through to, let's say, a call worker, or if it's going to get sent to a call group or to an auto attendant. All of those things can be configured here. And again, as I mentioned, everybody who's on the system will be preloaded in, so you don't have to type people's names in with their number or anything like that that's cumbersome. You're actually just going to, if you want to zero out and say I want my calls, press 0 to reach Dina, I would select Dina, click save, and now within my voicemail, I say you can press 0 to reach Dina. I won't have to give her number or anything else. The patient who's calling in can just click that button, and they'll be zeroed out to that number or whatever I've assigned in this area. This is also where I'm able to change my voicemail PIN. So I can go in here and put my PIN in. I don't have to call an administrator to do that. I can set that up from here. So if I want to call in to check my voicemails, let's say I didn't select to have the message indicator light, and I didn't select to have the notification via text message or email, or have a carbon copy sent to me, I'm just going to call in to my number, similar to the way that most of us check our voicemail on our cell phones. I can have my PIN set up here so that when I call in, the PIN's very easy to remember, and I'm able to get to my messages. So that is a view from a end user, and you can really control a lot, or as much as you need to as an end user, to make sure that you're making the most of the system. But let's go into a quick view of what you see as an administrator. So the first one I showed you stopped right here underneath company directories, and company directories can just be any directory numbers that you want to load in, some business numbers that you are accustomed dialing, or external numbers that you want your staff to be able to quickly dial to. They'll be housed in the company directories, and you will tell us what you want preloaded in there, and they'll be ready to go when the system is deployed to you. But as an administrator, you don't only see your phone settings and the company directories, you also see the company settings. And in the company settings, this is where you're able to control everything for every user across your practice, whether it's one location or multiple locations. So for example, let's take a look. Looks like I have to log back in here. If you take too long, as a security, it will make you log back in. Especially as an administrator, they want to make sure that you didn't just walk away and then someone else was able to come in here and make changes that you didn't want them to make. So it made me log back in because I was talking for a little too long there. But let's go back in here, users and locations. I want to add a new user. So for most of us, that means I'd need to call someone else, and maybe I'd need to upgrade the PBX or on-premise equipment to add a new user. But with OfficeSuite, it's as easy as coming in here, putting in a name, putting in an email address, and then I would select from the available extensions what extension I would want to give to this user. The language on the phone, I indicate here I want it to be English. Direct dial phone numbers, if I wanted to put a direct dial phone number in there, I'd be able to select that from the drop-down menu. And outgoing caller ID, do I want them to have the caller ID of the phone that they're calling from, or maybe I want them to be private when they call out? I don't want people to be able to see what the phone number is, so I can control that here. Once I put that in, I may want to enable some of the additional features like cell twinning, and this feature allows the individual to receive a call at their desk phone and to their mobile phone at the same time. Now, what happens is if they pick up that call on their mobile phone and then they get back to the desk phone and want to continue the call there, they can seamlessly, by clicking a button on the phone, continue the call, hang up on their cell phone, and they wouldn't have had to drop off that call at all. It would just continue to be seamless as if they were just on the same phone at the same time. It's a great feature for someone who isn't at their desk very often. If you have someone who's maybe a tech person on site, or someone who's floating around from different parts of the practice, and they're not always at their desk phone, this is a good feature for them to have, where they can answer on their mobile phone and then continue the conversation on their desk phone when they get to it. But it's not a standard feature. It's something that's an additional feature. Great if it's necessary, but people don't have to use it. So it's not something you would deploy to all of the people in your practice. But you would want to enable voicemail, so I've selected that here. So that means that this user will have a voicemail account. I click Save. It tells me that it's processing it. Now, I'm actually in the system already, so I just tried to make a quick change to it. And once that's complete, it's going to go to and generate the email that I spoke to before that the user's going to get. So within just those couple of clicks, I've set up a new user. The system tells me what their new PIN is going to be, and it's also reflected in the email what their PIN is. And as easy as that, the new user is now in the system and will be available from the drop-down menus that I showed you before, and in the directories and everything else. So it really is easy for you to add and move users from location to location if that's something that you're trying to do. In terms of setting up auto attendance, you would just be able to click in here, and again, if you had a question while you're in here as an administrator, it's the same thing as if you were an end user. You could click on the grayed out buttons. It'll tell you exactly what you're able to do in this section. We're setting up an auto attendant. I'll go into an example of an existing one. So if I click here, what I would have configured is I'd go into my auto attendant, and it'll be able to tell me exactly what I want to happen when someone calls in and gets a message. So for this example here, I could have the person, when they're listening to the message, dial an extension and be transferred to that extension directly. I could have them click on here, and if they click on number 1, for example, they could go to customer service or patient care. If I typed in here exactly what I'd want to say in that auto attendant, when I click Save, it will give me a sheet of exactly what I want to say. So I'd have a script for each of these. Let's say I labeled each of these areas here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If they press 1, they went to customer care. If they press 2, they went to one coworker, 3 to another coworker, so on and so forth. If I wanted to remind myself so that when I'm recording this, I can make sure that I'm saying the right thing that matches up to the numbers, I'd put my prompts in here. And once I click Save, it's going to give me that sheet of prompts to read from, and the system is actually going to generate a call to the phone that I'm using to record that. So the phone has to be a phone on the OfficeSuite system. It'd be my desktop phone, not my cell phone. It'd be my desktop phone within the OfficeSuite system. The system will generate a call, and it will give me the prompt to start recording. I would read from the prompts I would have created, and then that text or that voice message that I've left will now be associated with the auto attendant. So when someone calls in and they get the prompts, it will say press 1 for customer care, so on and so forth. It will be recorded and associated with my profile. So that's a great feature to have, and no additional cost for the auto attendants. And again, it's something that can really help you route calls to the right place when your patients call in. The other thing I mentioned was disaster avoidance and recovery, and this is a good section to show, just to touch on from that standpoint. So I mentioned if it was a snow day, or let's say there was a snowstorm that stopped people getting into the offices, but I wanted the calls to be able to go through to someone who could answer it, maybe to people who are working as receptionists for the practice, and they're going to be working from home that day. They might be using their cell phones. Well, what I'll do in this system, I will have not only the main phone numbers listed, but the overrides. And what the overrides are, these are the numbers that the phone call would go to in the event of an emergency if the phones couldn't be picked up at the desk. So this 212-400-9585 number is associated with the phone on the desk. But if a call comes in and that person cannot get to that phone, I could enable it in here so that when a number rings, it also rings the cell phone. So that way a call is never missed. And if I wasn't in an emergency and I needed to do that those overrides for the whole system, I would come into this area here, incoming call routing, and click on Enable All Overrides. You'll notice that this now becomes prominent, and these are grayed out. So that means that when the call comes in, they're able to get through to the person they were trying to call, and even in any disaster, that no call is missed. The last features we have here refer to business details. So this will really talk to the practice in terms of the hours of operation. So I can set this up so that during certain hours, people receive a different message when they call in, or even within the auto attendance, individuals can have auto attendance that are triggered by the time of day. So they may have a certain message that says, I'm available at this time, I'm just away from my desk, and then at the after hours that have been set up, once those hours kick in, that message might now go into, I'm not at the location anymore, but you can leave me a message and it can still have all the prompts. So all of those business hours and everything else can be set up here. And then the last two sections we have are call groups and phone inventory. The call groups was the area where I spoke to, where we can set it up so that we can have a group where everybody in the patient care section of the practice, all their phones ring at the same time. Or maybe I want it in a circular fashion so that as the call comes in, it goes from one person, then it rings to the next phone, then it rings to the next phone. Or I can have it so that it makes sure that within the group, the next person in line will always get the next incoming call. So those are all things that you can fix or set up here within calling groups. And again, when somebody goes into their my calling groups, they'll be able to see which groups that they're part of. Now, there are a whole host of other features that we could go through, but I know our time is limited, and there will be some follow-ups after this, so we'll be able to show you how you can do everything you need to do to manage your practice. But I just want to give you a taste of how easy it is to use the system, and some of the features that really can help you make sure the calls are getting to the right place and give that patient experience a bit of an upgrade with your phone system. So it's pretty split in terms of results. In terms of management of the system, it seems that there's 51% of you say that your office managers cannot manage the system today, and 49% of you say they do. And I think that even with the 49% who can manage the system today, it's really worthwhile contacting TechCentral to go through a full demo of the OfficeSuite system, because I'm sure there are advantages to using it. And for the 51% of you who can't manage it today, I really hope that the brief demonstration of the OfficeSuite portal shows you exactly how you can take control of the way you manage your practice. And I'd encourage you to, again, contact TechCentral and find out more information about how you can use that to improve the way that you manage calls at your practice. We touched on a couple of the features, and the portal itself is a main highlighted feature of OfficeSuite, but there are others too. We said that there's auto attendance. We mentioned call coveraging. Hot desking is something I spoke to. I didn't call it by its feature name, but it's the ability for you to move from phone to phone on your system and log into it and have your profile follow you. So it becomes really advantageous if you have multiple locations and you're a dentist who works at one location on a couple of days during the week, and the other days of the week you're at another location. When you go to either of those locations and log into the phone, all of your profiles, speed dials, everything else is going to follow you. I mentioned intercom, and that's having the ability to intercom between phone sets that's both on the one single location, so anyone on that system in that one location can intercom between each other, but also across different locations. If the practice is all tied together with one administrator, you're going to be able to do intercoming through the phones. So I think you're starting to understand the theme of OfficeSuite, and that's making it easy. As I said in the opening slide, OfficeSuite was designed from the end user up. So we really had the user in mind and wanted to make it easy and intuitive. So it's easy for your employees, easy for your staff at the practice, for them to do whatever they want to do with their phone system. There's lots of buttons, and they're all programmable. You can set up all of those features very easily. In terms of administrator, again, easy to use. You can use it remotely, so anywhere you have an internet connection, you can serve as the administrator for the system. So if your office manager is on vacation and needs to make a quick change, or is working from home and needs to make a quick change, they just log into the portal, make that change, and it's available for their users. It's easy to buy because there's no CAPEX, and there's something that I can't stress enough. Even if you have a current phone system and you're thinking that it's too expensive for you to make that move into a state-of-the-art phone system, that worry is eliminated with OfficeSuite, because the way we price the product means you don't have to have a huge capital outlay to buy new phone sets. The phones are actually put into a monthly recurring charge. And with that monthly recurring charge, it's somewhat like a rental option, because if anything happens to that phone, you just send the phone back to us and we send you a new one. Your warranty is included in the price, so you have no headaches of buying a lot of phones, having a huge outlay, and then when something happens to that phone, you're going to have to pay again to replace it if it's out of warranty. So that's going to be covered for the life of your contract. There's no IT or special degree necessary. As I showed you, you can basically learn the system within one sitting, and training is provided when we roll out the system. And all of the maintenance, is no hidden fees in there, and engineering is available for special needs. We do have some OfficeSuite engineers who are at your disposal if you have any questions, or if there's something more complex with your practice, we will talk through that with you. In terms of delivery, there are options with delivery. So we have bring your own bandwidth as an option, MPLS as an option, and dedicated internet access. So you have all of the options you would want in terms of a cost-effective way for you to deploy OfficeSuite.
So Kevin,
it's easy
yes. Kevin, to clarify that, when you say bring your own bandwidth, you're referring to the fact that you don't have to buy internet bandwidth from Broadview if you already have an internet provider. Is that correct?
Exactly. So we know our preference would be for you to use Broadview for the internet connection, but we understand there are some people in there who may already be in internet contracts, and they're happy with their internet provider, but they're not happy with their phone system. So we don't want to isolate those people or not give them the ability to take advantage of everything OfficeSuite has to offer for improving the way that your dental practice handles calls. You can still become an OfficeSuite customer, and we'll just be able to layer that on top of your existing internet access agreement. Now, what we will do there is within the beginning, the site surveys that we have, and as we start to take a look at exactly what the right solution is for you, we'll take a look at how much bandwidth you currently have and make sure that everything matches up so it's going to operate at the highest level possible. So you do have the option to bring your own bandwidth, but again, that's something that we'll talk through with you and make sure that you have everything you need for the system to operate. Does that answer your question, Jason?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, great. Easy to install. Now, we will do the installation for you, but we know there are some people who are very hands-on, and if you want to do the installation yourself, that's also an option, because it's very easy to do. It's plug and play with the phones. As I said, they're getting all of their intelligence from the cloud. So once your internet connection is up and running, we're making sure everything is really structured the right way on your internet environment. Then you're able to put those phones in. It's going to go out to our servers and find their profile. So it's very easy to install, which means it's also easy to maintain. So many people have questions over what's the experience going to be like with these phones being deployed. Well, it's very easy because there are less points of failure in the system because of the way that we've constructed OfficeSuite with the intelligence in the cloud. And again, no special IT or engineering support necessary for maintaining the system. This is a system you can maintain yourself without any worries, because if anything goes wrong, you're in an agreement where you can send those phones back or have someone to reach out to help you with the portal that controls the system. In terms of the phones, there's a lot of options here too. So the one to the left that we'll start with is the high-end phone. It's a color touchscreen LCD phone. The one just below this one is a 48-key phone. It's LCD backlit. The other one's 24-key, and those only refer to those keys I mentioned before that are programmable. So this one has more available on the face of the phone. The other one has just one strip instead of two, and you have a scroll feature, so there's multiple pages of features that you can add to each of these phones. So the last phone on the top list here is an LCD phone, but it's not backlit, so that's an option if you have someone who you'd rather deploy a lower-end phone to. You also have a slimline phone that you can use in a break room or in the waiting office. Receptionist modules that can be put onto the side of the phones, so the receptionist has these additional buttons that they can use. There's a conference module, so this can be used in a conference room, and there's a wireless headset and a wireless handset and wireless headset option too. In terms of how we compare, well, we compare to others very, very well. We stack up well against others, and we're happy to do comparisons against what you have today or anything else that you're considering, and that's something you can work through TechCentral to have those comparisons drawn up for you. But our phones are very cost-effective in terms of the fact that they're included in the monthly cost, as mentioned. Our basic features are robust and included. Advanced features are available too. You have mobile tools, you have smartphone tools, multi-location support is really standard within the offering, as mentioned before. Disaster recovery is included. Employee usability is easy as opposed to being complex. It's the same thing with system management. And our core quality is managed. We want to make sure you have the best experience. We know some people have been a little wary about getting into hosted because of the quality of the calls. With us, we manage it. We make sure that you're going to get the quality that is necessary for you to have those conversations that we know are the lifeline to you effectively running your practice. So you've got the unlimited calling plan in there, and call center tools are available. And what those speak to is ACD option, where let's say somebody called in and you want skill-based routing, so anybody who spoke Spanish went through to the one person at your practice who you want to allocate to dealing with Spanish-speaking calls. Well, this system does have the available option for you to add on the call center tools where you can have those calls routed by skills-based, whether it's language or something else. So it really is designed to make sure that you're using the right call treatments within your practice. So how does OfficeSuite change your business? It's easy to use, complete voice data internet solution. No capital expense or maintenance contracts. Helps to improve your practice experience because they get to the right person every time and a call is never missed. No technical expertise necessary. Makes multiple locations feel like one. You're going to get 24/7 dedicated support, built-in disaster recovery, and also one of the advantages of owning the code and owning the intellectual property for the service is the fact that we can build out different integrations. And one of the integrations that will be coming soon is Dentrix integrations. And I know there may be a few of you or maybe more on the call who use Dentrix today. With OfficeSuite, you're going to be able to integrate that Dentrix solution with your phone solution. So that's really a huge advantage. We're going to go into the questions. Just wanted to talk about a quick case study that we had. A New York-based dental office who was having problems with the ways that they were dealing with call handling at their locations. They were 11 location New York-based phone company. They wanted to cut costs and improve the way calls were handled. They used OfficeSuite, and they were able to do that. Eliminated expensive to maintain premise-based phone system. It brought all those phone systems into one so the administrator could control everything on that system across the locations. It saved the cost of moves, adds, and changes. And they were also able to use time-of-day treatments and call hunt groups to make sure that the calls were always answered by the right person. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Jason just to talk a little bit about next steps.
Kevin, thank you very much. That was extremely informative, and I hope everyone on the phone was able to learn more about cloud-based phone systems. But it went very quickly, so what we want to do is offer you a chance to learn more and an offer to receive a free cost savings analysis if you will contact the Henry Schein TechCentral team. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do this. I've listed our phone number here as well as a direct email address that you can put in your request for a conversation with the TechCentral team and your local DTS. And at the end of the presentation, there will also be a survey, and all you have to do is just check, I would like to receive more information, and automatically we'll come talk to you. You can always hit our website at www.henryscheintechcentral.com. But in the meantime, let's talk about, I have a few question and answer, a few questions that have come in, and I'd like to address those. And Kevin, while you catch your breath, maybe I'll catch up on some, and then we can discuss some others. So the first, go ahead. Sounds good?
Yes.
So the first question was, if I do program my speed dials in my profile, will it follow me to my phone at home? And the answer is yes. Whatever phone you set up, whatever profile you set up will follow you no matter what phone you're logged in on. The second one is, does it cost to call support? And Kevin, do you want to talk about that for a second?
Yes, there's no cost for the support. So you're able to get free support for this system. It's something that we really pride ourselves off of, making sure that you're able to use the system with no problems, and you're going to get 24/7 support.
Okay. Another question: Can I use this service with any phone model? So referring to an existing phone.
Right. So because of the proprietary intelligence that we have for the system, you do have to use the Broadview phones, and that's because the intelligence is in the clouds. In the cloud. So instead of you having an existing phone where it'd be very cumbersome for you to be able to do things like make the change in the portal and have it appear immediately on your phone set, you wouldn't be able to do that with your existing phone. So that's why we can only use the Broadview phones to really make the most of the system.
But then again, that is a turnkey solution. So you get the phones,
yes,
the service, the support, the maintenance. That's all inclusive.
Exactly, it is all inclusive, and no upfront capital has to be outlaid in order for you to take advantage of that.
I know some of our smaller customers have been really appreciative of that.
Yes,
and I'm sure some of our larger ones as well. Also, a question on switching. If I have an existing phone system and I bring in a new phone solution, how does the transition work? And I think the implication there is that do I stop using one day and the next day? Right.
So what we'll do is we'll actually work with you on a migration plan. Part of that migration plan, we'll have your switchover day, and we'll make sure that we're porting your numbers so you'll be able to keep your existing numbers. And we'll have a couple of test phones in your environment so you can get familiar with them before we do the actual switch, so you're comfortable with it. And then on that day, on the day that we've designated, we'll then switch over, and you'll then be operating your practice off of the OfficeSuite phones.
Fantastic. And last question, maybe just again reinforce and explain what happens because this is an internet-based system. What happens if the internet for some reason is cut off to the office?
Right. So that's really where disaster avoidance and recovery really comes into play, and something that we know that businesses of all types, not just dental offices, would be very concerned with if they were moving to a cloud-based phone system. So we address that a couple of ways. Firstly, within the system, you can always make sure a call is going to go through. Even if the internet access goes down at the site, because the routing and the call treatment happen in the cloud, we make sure those calls are going to go through to those secondary phones, whether they're at another location, whether it's cell phones, or whether it's at home phones. And in addition to that, the ringer will never get a ring busy. So in today's environment with a traditional phone system, if something happened that broke the connection, the hardwire connection, anyone calling in is going to get a ring busy. They're not even going to get to voicemail. With the OfficeSuite system, they're always either going to get to the phone number that you've designated in the system, or they will at least, worst case scenario, get to the voicemail. So all of that can be configured, and we can actually show you with our reps in the field how you can make sure that no calls are missed, even if your internet connection goes down. And again, because it's in the cloud, we can very quickly even move those phones to another location if necessary, or make edits to your profile to make sure we get you up and running as soon as possible.
Fantastic. A couple more questions that I'll ask from the chat. Can you record phone calls?
If phone call recording is something that you really need to be able to do, there's an option to do it within the soft phone. So that's standard within the soft phone application that I spoke about that lives on a laptop. But for the day-to-day calling, that would move you into the ACD, the contact center features that I mentioned, where you have skill-based routing and things like that. And within that ACD application, you have the ability to do call recording. So it's not something that's standard on the system, but it's something that you have the ability to add to the system.
Fantastic. Well, with that, we're a few minutes past the top of the hour. On behalf of myself and our good partners at Broadview Networks, I'd encourage you to go to our website, Schein TechCentral.com, to request more information, or in the survey that you're about to receive, to simply request more information, and we will have one of our skilled reps contact you and work with you to provide an analysis of what you're currently paying and what a plan would be customized for your office. Again, this is Jason Werner. I want to thank you for your time today. Thanks, and have a great day.